Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Performance. Today, we are joined by renowned and world famous guest, Brandon Schlichter. I hope I said that right. I'm pretty sure I
Great job.
did. Brandon, thanks for coming on, man.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm very excited to be here.
I love it. Today, we're going to be talking about ways to up your game, take your performance to the next level, talk a little bit of business, a little bit of life, a little bit of family, all that, and how it all combines into making you a better entrepreneur, business owner, person. So today, Brandon, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Born and raised in Central Ohio. I kind of have a quintessential rag to riches story. My dad was a truck driver who was not one that made much money. My mom sold door-to-door cosmetics, grew up in the middle of a cornfield. I try to hold no punches. Grew up, we got evicted twice as a kid. I've been effectively working since I was 18 years old. My dad had a heart attack, so I had to go and go to a fulfillment center, as is the popular thing in Central Ohio, to go work at the warehouses. Decided I didn't like that too much. After about 3 years, I quit, got my real estate license, which very much changed my life because I'd never been around anybody growing up that had money. Everybody I knew was just chronically broke. As an adult, it was the first time I got around rich people. I obtained a mentor that was also in the office. He was the former CEO of an oil company. His name was Norm, and just blew my mind with entrepreneurship, how to run a business, and his background of being a CEO for so many years. And he made the statement to me, one day, he's like, if anybody can sell real estate, it's me. He retired from the oil industry, got into real estate because he said anybody can do this. Proceeded to make a lot of money, and I worked with him on a lot of deals, and he just taught me so much about money, entrepreneurship, and then the things that he was doing with his money, like going and providing private scholarships for kids to get into private tutoring and private schooling programs, just taking them out of really poverty and putting them in the driver's seat of their own destiny. So got my real estate license in 06, got into actively pursuing real estate investment.
Great time to start.
Oh, great
For
stuff.
about a year and a half.
I've done a video sitting at my parents' old kitchen table where my parents were because at 21 when I got my license, my parents were I was living with my parents. My parents said, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. And everybody else that was around the dinner table at that point said, "You're stupid. Why would you get in real estate? There's going to be a bubble. There's
True
going to be a crash."
supporters.
Like,
True
I don't
supporters.
know.
Your family. They're
I like
always
it.
your best support group, right?
But my immediate family, my mom and dad, were fine with it. And I was like, I know this doesn't look good, but it's got to be better than packing boxes. And, they continue to go on and say, well, packing boxes, there's nothing wrong with that. So, it was very tough in 06, 07, and 08 when I was an active real estate agent. I got into building real estate blogs back in late 2008, early 2009. I had a list of every executive director in the REO departments for foreclosures for every bank in the United States, just about. So that's how I started dipping my toes in the social media thing, or online media at all, back in 08, 09. Kept doing real estate, decided that, I dipped my toes a little bit in social media or online marketing, decided let's do both those things and start an investment project and go after some rental properties. Because in 2013, you could buy any given house in Southern Ohio, Central Ohio for like 20 grand. And I thought there's got to be somebody out here that has money that'd be interested in buying these.
I'll do the work. I
I'll
promise.
do the work. Well, I mean, I'm not opposed to working. I grew up so poor. The fact that anybody could own their own house was always just mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
So
I think that people are always like, they think they have to have money to acquire things.
Mhm.
I think it's a huge fallacy that so many people out there, especially younger, when you don't have money, and $20,000 is an astronomical sum of money that's just unattainable, especially if you're working in a factory that you earn in how much an hour on that?
I peaked at $11.75 an hour, which I figured out adjusted for inflation's like $18 an hour.
Yeah. How long would it have taken you to save $20,000?
It would have been near impossible because that was during my dad's recovery. I was giving them most of my money.
Yeah.
So
talk about what was your first big break?
I would say it was getting into real estate, and I started meeting people that were not chronically poor. I had one guy show up to my office. He was a truck driver, just like my dad, and he wanted to go out and flip some homes. And this was 2009, which shouldn't make any sense whatsoever. And I said, why are you flipping houses? I can buy them cheap and make money. Okay, cool. Well, where are you going to get your money from? Because you're a truck driver like my dad. And he got mad at me. And I said, we'll have to go find a bank that'll finance you, blah, blah, blah. And he just took a checkbook and threw it at me. And he's like, open it up and see how much money I have. And I was like, okay. And I opened it up and there's, mid six figures in there. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck are you doing? What are you shipping in your truck? And he said, well, parts for GM, but I invested my money over the past, being in trucking and investing my
By the
money.
way, I'll pause you right there. For those of you who don't know what a checkbook is,
Oh,
back
gosh.
in the day, there was this little ledger, and a ledger is where you keep track of your money and you write debits and credits in this thing, and it basically keeps track of all your money. Now you just log into your bank account and you can see,
Yeah.
or we log into Mint or whatever, financial thing out there. But back in the day, that's how I was taught: is you keep track of all your money in one spot.
One
Sorry,
of the, yeah.
Brandon.
Now I need to rewrite this story for Gen Zs. So when I talk to millennials and Gen X, they understand having a checkbook thrown at you. So, he had money and he went out and flipped some houses. I sold him some houses, and I met a janitor that worked up at Nationwide Children's Hospital. His name was Bert, and he flipped houses up around the hospital. I said, "What do you do?" He's like, I work at the hospital. I buy houses, I fix them up, and I sell them." And he bought some acreage in this area. And I was like, I asked both those guys, how do you go out and own real estate for cash? And they both said, well, we invest. So at that point, I knew
Yeah.
that I had to start investing because everybody around me was chronically poor. The CEO, Norm, he was starting to pull me away from the mindset of everybody else. But, kind of figuratively and literally being slapped in the face by, a truck driver, even though it was just a checkbook, a piece of paper with some leather or plastic around it. It blew my mind that you could go out and buy something, hold it for potentially for a year or 2, 3 years, and then make $100,000 spread on it. And I was like, these people, these are average, normal people. I don't think they're smarter than I am.
Yeah.
So it took me for several years, maybe 08, 09 was when I really decided I have to get in investments. It took me till 2013 to realize that I don't really need all the money myself. I had sold some websites, had some cash set aside, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna go out and buy some houses. And I saved up that 20,000, that proverbial 20 grand. And I said, I can buy one house myself, or I can see maybe I could partner with some other people. And it took me 2 years to work on that. And then in 2 years, I had over $500,000 in committed capital from other people to go out and buy. We ended up on that first leg. I think we bought a dozen to 14 places. And they were the normal dumpy $25,000 house full of mold, whatever.
Yeah.
Quite a few of them I still own.
What? And now you were going in there and fixing them then, or did you have a crew?
I had a crew. I was poaching maintenance people from other landlords in town, guys that did
Love
great
it.
work, but that were being restrained by their current landlord. I think I could say whatever I want to about her now because I think she passed away. But there was a landlord in town that had many people on maintenance, and she just would under repair everything. Nice
Yeah.
lady, but just when it came to properties, everything was underkept. And I picked up a maintenance guy. He was getting paid $8 an hour. And that was in 2013. I said, well, I'll pay you way more than that if you'll run a crew for me and repair
Yeah.
houses for me. And he did a great job. He's still with me. But it's one of those things where I started buying houses, and the first house I bought here in Circleville on
Yeah.
Mill Street, I bought for $23,500. We put a total in between acquisition and rehab. We had 60 grand in it. Today, it's probably worth between $250,000 and $300,000.
Wow.
So
It's great.
I felt that's an 11-year one. And there's other ones that I bought and sold. And I'm big
An
into just
overnight success. An
overnight,
overnight
just
success.
11 years.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really realize how much time and effort went into this. You're making it sound really easy, but there was a there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in there as
There
well,
is literally
and
a
there
lot
still
of
is, I'm sure.
all of, oh yeah. I got a really contentious eviction to do tomorrow. We were down at the laundromat. We were cleaning at the laundromat today. Yesterday I'd have to think, but I did some, more weird things. If we want to fast forward to today, I, here recently I bought a commercial roofing firm in the greater Chicago area.
Yeah.
And that involves me getting on very, very tall roofs on warehouses and large commercial facilities. So for me, there's always going to be work that has to be deployed. You have to be willing to work. Sometimes it's going to be more mental work, like I was
Yep.
creating organization flowcharts right before this call.
Yep.
Um, and there's other things where you're just going to be getting on top of a roof that burns your skin and other things like that. But overall, I'm very blessed, very thankful to be where I am, especially since I've been able to do this whole thing with no formal education.
Yeah.
I do hold a real estate license in Ohio, and I do hold a roofing license in the state of Illinois, and that's it.
Okay. I like it. Now you've parlayed that a little into the business world and
Mhm.
acquired a lot more in the businesses, and it seems like you are still doing the real estate, still growing that, still building that, but you've maxed out, and not maxed out, but you've been pushing a lot more in the business world. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Did you get any of that background?
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, a
We're
second.
good.
Okay, that's my business partner at the roofing company. He's trying to get hold of me. So, I parlay. Your question was around me
Yeah, how did
parlaying.
go into the business world? Teach me
Sure,
about how you went from buying homes,
homes
rehabbing
to business.
homes,
Okay,
selling into the business world.
yeah. So I was and I'm still a big real estate guy. And I started having this opportunity to buy companies with connected businesses, let's say. So I had looked at a piece of real estate with a laundromat, and I was looking at it just to buy the building, rent the commercial storefront as a laundromat, retain two apartments, and I just liked the real estate. And they only wanted 50 grand for the deal, which being commercial in this area was worth every penny. And we start
Yep.
talking to the elderly lady that owned the facility, and I said, "Well, how much money do you make?" And she pointed over the corner. There were two 5-gallon buckets of quarters, and I said, "How much money's there?" And she said, "Oh, it's about 8 grand in quarters. That's about how much I make every month, and then I have to move them around, and it's a disaster." And I said,
Yeah.
"You make $8,000 a month from a laundromat." On that deal was $50,000. I was hoping to rent the laundromat for $500 a month, and the two apartments for another 1,000 total. So I was hoping, all encompassing, to get $1,500 a month off the facility that I was going to pick up for 50 grand. And I thought, holy crap, why would I in a million years buy the real estate and not run the business too? And that deal did not go through. And then I started looking at laundromats. I bought two that were disasters. I sold at a loss, but then I
Yeah.
bought a third laundromat, which is the one I do all the YouTube videos on. And, the first, after fixing it up, I put 25K in rehab. We rented the apartments upstairs for, I think, 1,100 a month at that point. And the first month I brought in like $1,000 extra dollars after all the expenses in just the laundromat. So when we got it up and running, we were making more money than just leasing the commercial storefront would have ever made. So
Yeah.
then I looked at that, and we started optimizing and finding some ways to make more money off the laundromat. And then I started looking at, I won't mind buying some more businesses. The yield on the cash flow yield's better than real estate. It definitely is more work and hand holding, but I've got all the time in the world. I'll buy more of these. So then
Yeah.
I bought, two car washes in 2021. Also bought a self storage facility, and those are things that they're business. There's some real estate involved, and just really like this business thing. And it's not that I can't. It's either or. I do all of it, and I think that my real estate background gives me some edge. And then earlier in late last year, we started looking at buying other businesses. I've done great with car washes, done pretty good with laundromat, done well with self storage, continue to do well with real estate. What other businesses that are out there? And I haven't released this publicly, but we looked at a busing firm here in Central Ohio. I
Okay.
looked at a gravel hauling company. I looked at a
Yep.
paving company, a commercial trucking firm. I looked at all these other businesses, and it's been really fun to go in and look at their balance sheets and seeing the yields compared to real estate.
Yeah. What's been your favorite business you've acquired so far?
Uh, I don't know. It's probably going to, at this point, be in between the car washes and the roofing company.
Okay. All right. And why?
Car washes, because it was less work to get to the current revenue number over the laundromat. It's just a more affluent clientele. I'm worried sometimes that the equipment's going to hit somebody's car, but the customer base is just easier to work with.
Yeah.
Laundromat, I run into a lot of sob stories, and I feel bad for them. I'm kind of one of those people that
You
really do
toss in a
care about other
quarter or
people.
two. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I give a lot of money away at the laundromat, but then there's also kind of some decision points I have to make. Am I going to let these people tear up my machines? They don't know better. I try to sit down and talk to them. They're not doing any better. They're bringing their problems to the laundromat, a lot of them. So,
Yeah.
I don't like having to
As
deal
the
with that.
clientele for a laundromat would do.
Yes. And
So,
it's not that all laundromats are in that specific demographic. You can run a pickup and delivery service. That's a very hot industry right now, where you have a laundromat and then you go to people's homes and pick up their clothes, wash, dry, fold, deliver them, or you're doing just drop off. People come drop their
yeah.
clothes off, you deal with them, and then they come and pick them up later.
Yeah. Now, what does your wife think of all this? What, like, I'll tell you a situation. So I sometimes buy and sell domains,
Okay.
and my wife, I bought Bart.com,
Oh gosh,
BART.com,
that's awesome.
and it was at a public auction. And I mean, we were living in like a one bedroom apartment. It's just the two of us in the Bay Area. And I'm like, hey, babe, guess what I bought today? Like, I bought Bart.com. She's like, oh, how much did you pay for that? And I'm like, I paid 17,500 for it. And she was like, that's more than the cost of our car. Like, and we shared a car. Like, I walked everywhere I went or Ubered places. She's like, that's more than the cost of our car. And she's like, what are you going to do with it? And I was like, I don't know, but I think it was a really good deal and we'll probably make money off of it someday. She was like, oh my word. She's like, you're an idiot. And didn't talk with me for a day. She was actually
Oh,
quite bugged that
that's
I would
funny.
make that decision. Um, Tell me about your wife and your relationship. You also
Yeah,
have five
yeah.
kids,
I have
if
5
I'm
kids.
not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah,
Five
I mean,
kids.
her position is just, make money, help support our
Yeah.
lifestyle, help make sure the kids are well taken care of, but don't do it so much that I don't go home at a reasonable hour and spend time with my kids as well.
Yeah.
So those are all concerns. She's very detached from my businesses. I would say to an extent the kids are more involved in them than my wife is. My wife's
Okay.
primary goal, we homeschool our kids, so her primary concern is educating the kids and making sure they don't die.
Yeah.
Because the little ones are very, very energetic.
What
Um,
age ranges do you have?
Oldest is 15. My youngest is 2 years old.
Okay.
So my
So,
two smallest are got the 2 year old and a 5 year old, and they're
oh,
just full of energy. And it's one of those things where we're very community, local driven people. So her thought process is whatever I do, that's fine. Just hopefully we don't go bankrupt. And sometimes I try to you know unload on her at the end of a bad day at the office and some negotiation had a problem or the loan documents didn't clear or whatever. And I'm just telling her, oh, I've had a miserable day, this, and this, and this. And she's like, whatever. I feel bad for you, but I have no frame of
yeah.
reference of this. So it's okay.
Yeah.
It is what it is. My kids, like I said, they want to be more involved, I think, than she does. And that's fine. Her
Yeah. I
priority is the
think,
kid. So
yeah, the spousal relationship is an interesting one because I have gotten into the not telling the wife as much. It's kind of business. It's doing this.
yeah.
And it's always interesting because I want to unload and I want to have somebody to talk with, but she isn't that person. She's that person for everything else in my life,
Yep.
but not business. And that's sometimes hard
Yeah.
as
And that's
entrepreneurs.
that I have that problem too. And the problem is I did this at an event. I spoke at an event in Cincinnati 2 years ago. And I said, raise your hand, in the room if you're married. And 70%, let's say, the room raise their hand. I said, keep your hand up if you are married to somebody with the opposite personality. And 80% of that 70% continue to raise their hands. So I said, the vast majority of you are married to somebody very different than you. And everybody said, oh yeah. And I said, isn't it, you feel like with that person, their personality that's very different than yours tends to mesh well with yours. And most of the vast majority of those people also agreed that, yeah, that's a great fit. And I tell my
Yeah.
wife all the time, I would love you in my businesses because you have the opposite. I am the friendly, nice face. And, I'm the guy that schmoozes and stuff. And she's the ordered, processed, organized person. And I am
Yeah.
not those things. And I keep telling her I could make a lot more money if you would work with me. And she also said, I would probably kill you because you're very disorganized. So I spend a lot of time hiring people that are way more organized than I am. And I'm
Yeah.
like, there's a cost to hiring these people. And, my wife comes back and says, well, at least they won't, they won't put a
At least
pillow
they
over
won't
you in
kill
your
you in your
sleep.
sleep.
Yeah. That's exactly
Yeah.
what she says.
My wife and I
Uh,
tried early in our relationship. I had purchased a company, and I just needed work done, and I needed somebody I could trust doing it. We worked together, and she really struggled with. I can get mad and be kind of a dick sometimes at the office, and then the
uh,
second I'm done with work, I'm past it. It's like back to normal. Like you're my wife, this, but when you're at work, it's like work, work, work.
yeah.
And I never actually really understood it till my mother has done work for me for
Mm.
years, and I didn't understand it. Literally, we're probably like 8 years into working together in the same office, same
Oh,
this.
wow.
She's in the office every single day, and I didn't even realize that I called her a different name in the office than when I do outside of the office. I had not even compartmentalized
That's
that I
incredible.
call her something, and I can separate that out so well. So
That's
how
fun.
now you and team, how do you do it? How do you find such good, strong team members? Because what you've built seems pretty
Yeah.
amazing. How do you build
Where,
team members?
I'm glad you think it looks great. That means I've done a really good
From
job
an
of
outside
marketing myself.
perspective,
From an
it looks
outside
good.
perspective, I'm great at marketing. So like first off, I have failed and failed and failed and then miserably failed and then failed again at a lot of my hiring and finding people. But I do know that I'm doing a heck of a lot better job today than I've ever done before. And
Yeah,
what's happened in the past, I want to say two years, let's say, and lost in the first stage of coronavirus, 2020 and 21. I lost, let's say, part of 22 as well. I lost probably at or over $1 million, and that's in all my businesses. That's real estate losses.
it's
That's
hard.
losses in my social media business where we were just doing great, and then I had to start spending money to fix things, and it wasn't. And it's just like so. I lost about $1 million, and almost not probably not almost all the vast majority of that money was tied to bad people. It wasn't tied as much to bad decisions that I made, although there were a few. It was mostly, well, I can't manufacture any more time. I say this to everybody. God's given us all 24 hours a day, and at some point you are at your limit, so you've got to go buy somebody else's time. So I'm at the end of my time limit. So I got to go buy other people's
Yeah,
time. And I was buying people's time that were bad choices. And they were going and spending money and helping me make decisions that were very poor. And then I made a decision in, I think it was early 23, might have been late 22. I said, I'm only going to hire people where their number one consideration is, do they have ethics and are they moral? But
yeah,
beyond just the work experience, I want to find people that are honest, they're truthful, and they're self-starters. Because I had hired some people in the past, didn't keep them for longer, and I kicked myself because I wish I would have kept them. And I sat down and really gave that a hard look of why were these people so good, and I realized they were ethical, they were moral, and they were
yeah,
self-starters. They didn't have all they on the surface were saying, yeah, Brandon, I can't run an Excel spreadsheet as well as you want. I can't do this, this, and this. I will learn it, and I won't lie to you about learning it. And I had other people that had a great song and dance. Oh, I'm very skilled in Excel. I can do Word, and here's my college transcript. I can do all these things. And in the real world, they couldn't do anything they told me they could. And there,
yeah,
as I find now, there were things that they were saying that I should have picked up on to determine their quality. So anymore, in the past 2 years, especially in the past year, I've been just really intentionally hiring people that are morally and ethically aligned with me, because
yeah.
at least I know they're not going to steal from me. And if my management asks them a question, they're not going to weasel out of it. Did you mess up? We all mess up. All of us mess up.
Happens.
Yeah, it
Yep.
happens. Did you mess up, or are you trying to cover something else up? We lost in the roofing company over the past 3-ish months. We lost $50,000 on one bad hire. And it was one of those things where my manager here in my building, in 2 weeks, she said, this person's not moral, they're ethical, they're already lying to us. Cut them right now. Because the further you get down the road with this relationship with this person that's supposed to be building a division for you in your company, to
Yep.
go after new opportunities, in the commercial roofing industry, if you keep them on, that whole thing is going to be poison to the company. And I'm
And it
looking at it.
is.
I'm looking. I'm like, you're right. My office admin, her name's Karen, so she loves telling everybody she's a Karen, and
I love it.
she just cut straight to the bone. This is exactly how it is. Go fire them. Go fire them right now. If you don't fire them, I'll fire them. And I said, look, we've got other people in this company that we've not. I don't report to other people, but we bring them in the decision loop. I'm going to let them make some poor decisions here. It's going to be a great teaching experience for everybody. And that great teaching experience cost me 50 grand. And then we pivoted and we put the right person in the right position. And we've been on this call and they're sending me work orders from the day. I got a call. They tried calling me about today's work orders. The new sales guy, he secured since Sunday, $250,000 more of work. So
Wow.
other sales division guy couldn't bring in any
Dude,
money to the company.
having the right people is key in a
Yes.
business. Now,
Yeah.
tell me about Kenya. What do you have
Kenya.
going on there?
Oh,
Yeah.
the water facility. So
Yeah.
I have been friends with. Friends is probably too good of a word. I've been I've had an acquaintance that I went to church with forever in the day. Probably first met him 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago. His name's Brad, and him and his wife do exactly what I think people should do. They're going overseas to these foreign countries where no one has anything, and very, very poor, a very poverty-stricken world, and they're teaching people to be entrepreneurs. And they run an organization in Kenya that helps people develop water filtration systems, because water scarcity and hazardous water is a huge thing in Africa and very much so in Kenya. And they teach people how to make. I don't want to get in trouble, but I don't think U.S. patents exist in Kenya. If they do, I'm sorry, Brad. But they are showing people effectively in Kenya how to make a Berkeley-style water filtration system, where you have coarse gravel up top, fine gravel at the bottom. You have a biofilter that will actually clean the water up. And they're showing people.
No, I'm listening.
Okay, so they're showing people how to make these water filtration systems with totally locally sourced materials. And they're buying them. Some people in Kenya are buying them for $25, $35, $50, $100 a piece, which is just like buying spending new car money just so your kids don't get dysentery, cholera, and die. And so they're making these devices over in southern Kenya for about $5 a piece in labor and materials and everything. It's mostly just labor costs because they're going out to certain areas. They're hand mining and hand collecting the materials, and they're making these sand filtration systems. And they have taught people sales process. So they have built this organization of door-to-door, effectively, water filter salespeople. And they hire men, they hire women, young, old, whatever. And since the way that the nonprofit is set up, it's almost like a co-op, which hopefully that's not too over a dirty word, but it's a co-op where they just figure out who's doing the work and they split the company profit. And Brad and Sherry, his wife, they don't take any money off the organization. They rely on donations here in the United States for operating capital. And they go and they sell these water filtration systems. Well, as time has progressed, they've upped their game. And with the roofing company, we're taking a percentage of every dollar that comes in and we're spending it on charity. And I've just been, I love these people to death. They always have something cool. So we did a government roofing project. It was an elementary school in the city of Rockford, RPS 205. And we had a little bit of money from that percentage. And I said, let's do something really cool with this. And I talked to my operator / business partner on the roofing company. He says, here's the amount of money. Just go do something fun with it. I don't care. Get a YouTube video out of it, but do something. So I called Brad and Sherry and I said, hey, what could you do for $2,000 was my budget. And they said, oh my gosh, we've never had anybody come to us with $2,000. Yeah. And I said, what could you do? And they said, oh, we've got a water filtration facility. It's like essentially, it's not just, from my understanding, a well. They've got a well, the distribution network, and a water tower they're filling up with. And they've got to be very careful with these water facilities because people will actually break in, steal the water, destroy the machinery, and then sell the water to people locally at an extreme margin.
Yep.
absolutely, like,
Atrocious stuff.
oh yeah, barren, land baron type stuff from the 1800s.
Yep.
So they said, oh, we can armor the facility, build the walls, make this whole facility, help guard it, and all this different stuff for $2,000. So I'm waiting
Wow.
for all of the video to be sent to me that they built it. They had the mayor of the town come out. Um, I haven't seen the full video yet, but from my understanding, this water facility that we built or assisted building in southern Kenya, in the background, you can see Mount Kilimanjaro.
Hmm.
So it's hopefully going to be this real scenic thing. And the way that it works is it's a for-profit business in southern
Yeah.
Kenya, and they sell water for, I think it's half of a cent per gallon. So you bring your water bottles and your pitchers and stuff, and you can get this totally filtered, totally safe water for under a penny a gallon, which I guess in that part of Kenya is still a very, very good deal. But it's
Good.
enough of a price that they can continue to make infrastructure upgrades and maintenance without
Yeah.
relying on U.S. donations. So it operates as a business, but it's totally
Yeah.
self-sufficient.
Awesome. Well, I love that you're involved in that and helping helping out the world. We're up on time. I just wanted to thank you, Brandon.
Oh
Thank you
yeah.
so much for being here. Um, how can we help you? What is
Um.
your biggest struggle right now, and how can everyone listening, including myself, help you?
So what I'm like, I would say the thing that I'm working towards, I really like this roofing company. And we're trying to get into the world, I would say, on one end of tax mitigation strategies and commercial real estate.
Yep.
I've got a friend that opened up my mind to the world of doing commercial real estate improvements with
Yep.
tax advantages. So if anybody's in the greater Chicago area and they would like a roof and would be interested in talking to me about an interesting roof, send us a request on hcanderson.com. Other than that, uh, I want to network with people, whether that's through Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, or whatever. I just want to build a bigger network of friends
Yeah.
because I look at a lot of societal problems that I want to start going after, and I just need more friends to help go after those things. I was on the phone today with somebody on city council, and they're talking about housing affordability, which, having been evicted twice, housing affordability is important to me, but I also know it's a much bigger, weightier problem than anyone wants to talk about or wrap their head around, because you've got people say, oh, the developers, they're, the developers are the one to blame. And I'm friends
Hmm.
with one of the largest real estate developers in California, in
Yeah.
SoCal, and we have talked a lot about why are houses expensive in California, and I won't go into that detail here, but he just had a breakdown. He tracks all of the money coming in and going out, and I look at his breakdown on homes, and I think to myself, wow, there's a huge problem here. That you have
Yeah.
$250,000 per house segmented to XYZ line item, and it's a cost that's passed on to the consumer that in my mind doesn't exist, because that same line item cost here in the state of Ohio is $15,000 in various
Yep.
fees. So I look at
Yep.
that and I think to myself, it would be nice to use my YouTube channel and my social media presence with the 6 million plus subscribers I have, kind of as this large club to go in and go after some housing projects that I'm just going to do what I'm going to do, and we'll see what happens, as
I
opposed
like
to
it.
doing the
I'm
normal.
in.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So like I've got some lots in my community, and I'm just going to go build a house. I'm not going to. I'm just, like I should probably do the big reveal, but I'm wanting to just go build a house without any um, any concern on my end. I want to build an affordable house. I want to see how much it costs me to build one on some lots that I have without going the normal route of having to, you know, go through the hassle of legal compliance and all these other things. And it's not bad in Southern Ohio. It's not that I couldn't build
yeah.
something compliant, very compliant, but I also look at there's some building styles. I ran into a study by the University of Alabama where they were building three bed, 1.5 bath um, homes back in 2018 for $20,000 a piece, 1,500 square feet,
Wow.
three, 1.5, and they were using unconventional construction types that are illegal in most of the United States. And it's not that they were poorly built houses. They were built to code. Well,
Yeah.
modified code, let's say. And
Yeah.
I've read these stories about houses, and I think to myself, why couldn't I do one of those? I think we could do it.
Yeah.
That's like one of those big things that I'm working towards. Um,
Sounds
and
like you
there's,
have politics in your future. You got to run.
well, I don't want, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't see the point of it to an extent when I could use my YouTube channel as that proverbial club. It'd be
Yeah.
one thing to run for office and say, I'm going to fix it. And it'd be another thing, just go in and fix it. And
Yeah.
then if I've done this a couple times already, to be honest, where the politicians or the legal structure comes after you, you say, oh, well, let me turn on my camera real quick and let's talk about why I'm not compliant on this project. Let's talk about what law have I really violated here. Let's bring up Ohio Revised Code and we can have a conversation of why I'm pretty sure I'm doing everything right, why you say I'm doing wrong, and let's broadcast it to my subscriber group and see why things are so expensive today. And it hasn't been to that level yet, but it's been with some minor issues, and they've essentially backed away and said, all right, do what you need to.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I didn't have to run for office.
Love it. Well, maybe one day I'll vote.
Oh,
I'd vote for you. So, well,
well,
thank you very much, Brandon. Thanks for being here. Thanks for everybody watching today. What's the best way to connect with you?
All my social media presence is at InvestmentJoy. It can be one word or two word. All YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, pretty sure LinkedIn, Twitter, everything's at InvestmentJoy.
Love it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.